A couple are behind bars after police found a non-verbal man living in squalor in the backyard of the house. On Wednesday the 9th of August, 56-year-old Jeffeth Garvey and his living girlfriend 59-year-old Antoinette Mundy were arrested at their home at 920 13th Avenue South in St. Petersburg, Florida following an investigation. St. Petersburg police said they received a call from the Department of Children and Families after someone called the abuse hotline about an intellectually disabled non-verbal 22-year-old man who was forced to live outside. Police said the man was not in very good condition and looked malnourished. He had not showered and was covered in feces. The man slept on a couch in the backyard and sometimes stayed in a shoddy wooden structure with a tarp-like covering serving as a roof and a wood plank as a door. The man was not allowed inside the home, and according to a witness, although he was provided food, he preferred to eat trash from garbage cans. A neighbour who reportedly knows the victim called the situation torture. The man is believed to be Jeffeth's son. Jeffeth and Antoinette are charged with neglect of a disabled adult. They're held at the Pinellas County Jail with bond set at $5,000 each. The investigation into the matter continues. 20-year-old Damien Hebler is behind bars for fatally shooting 20-year-old Carly Whites. At 6:06 p.m. on Wednesday the 9th of August, authorities responded to a home at 42 Willis Lane in Garrison, Kentucky on reports of an unresponsive woman. According to police, Damien called 911 to say that Carly shot herself at the specified address. When officers arrived at the premises, they found Carly's lifeless body laying on the floor near the front door, with what was initially believed to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound to her face. During questioning with detectives, Damien allegedly confessed to pointing a loaded pistol in Carly's face and pulling the trigger, fatally injuring her. Damien was arrested within hours of the shooting and charged with murder. He's held at the Greenup County Detention Center. Anonymous locals identified Damien as a friend of Kylie. The motive of the shooting is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. On the morning of Friday the 11th of August, 32-year-old Cassandra Marie Roy was arrested after a 2-month-old daughter was found malnourished and living in deplorable conditions. The Vanderburgh County Department of Child Services received a call about an infant being neglected at a home in the 700 block of Bryan Road in Evansville, Indiana. Cassandra had a history with the department and she previously had children removed from her. Authorities said that Cassandra appeared to be on drugs and refused to let the Department of Child Services family case manager inspect the child, so the child was removed from the home. The home was filthy and the child was taken to the emergency room for evaluation and needed treatment. Various rashes were found on the child, including severe diaper rash and a yeast infection on the infant's neck. Doctors also discovered that her urinary tract was almost closed and may require surgery. The child was underweight and malnourished, and it was discovered that Cassandra had not taken the infant to a doctor since her birth. Cassandra was taken into custody and charged with neglect of a dependent causing injury, and she's held at the Vanderburgh County Confinement Center without bond. The investigation into the matter continues. A 24-year-old man is behind bars for fatally stabbing his mother at her home. At 7:08 p.m. on Thursday the 10th of August, authorities responded to the 4500 block of 20th Street in Lubbock, Texas on report of a domestic disturbance. When officers arrived, they observed Peter Martinelli in the driveway of the residence with blood on him. He fled on foot as officers approached him, and he was taken into custody shortly thereafter. Investigators located Peter's mother, 63-year-old Bridget Curtis, unresponsive next to the backyard gate of the residence with stab wounds. Medics arrived and pronounced her dead at the scene. A witness told investigators that Peter approached his mother while she was in the front yard. He was seen attacking Bridget and making overhead strikes with a weapon, stabbing her multiple times. When she fell to the ground, Peter knelt over her and continued striking her. Another witness who called 911 stated seeing Peter spraying Bridget with a water hose after the assault. The caller gave a description of Peter and said he was moving the body towards the rear of the property and stated the victim had a large gash on her neck. Peter was arrested and charged with murder and with evading on foot. He's held at the Lubbock County Detention Center on a $500,000 bond. Bridget was a much-loved and respected psychiatrist with over 30 years of experience in the field. The motive of the attack is unclear as the investigation into the matter continues. Police are searching for suspects after a man was fatally shot in what is believed to be a targeted attack. At around 11:10 p.m. on Thursday the 10th of August, authorities responded to 4197 Bluebird Circle in West Valley City, Utah on a reported shooting. When officers arrived, they found an unresponsive man in the middle of the road outside his house with a gunshot wound to his face. The man was unable to be saved and he was pronounced dead at the scene. He was identified as 36-year-old Marcus Garcia. Investigators learnt that at least 2 suspects arrived in a light blue or silver sedan. They got in some kind of altercation with Marcus before a shot was fired from the vehicle and they fled the scene. Authorities said the suspect vehicle then struck an uninvolved motorist down the road along 4000 West. The uninvolved motorist was not injured and the gunman kept driving after the collision. Police said that the suspect vehicle would have front-end damage and are canvassing the neighbourhood for surveillance footage to identify the vehicle. Investigators believe that the attackers and Marcus were previously acquainted with each other and the shooting may be connected to a previous conflict. No arrests have been made to date as the investigation into the matter continues. A 22-year-old woman is behind bars for fatally shooting a 23-year-old woman and injuring a teenage girl. At around 9:30 p.m. on Friday the 11th of August, authorities responded to 9251 Ponderosa Drive South in Semmes, Alabama on reports of shots fired. When officers arrived at the scene, they found 23-year-old Honesty Holloway Wilkerson deceased with a gunshot wound to her chest. A second victim, the decedent's younger sister, 14-year-old Germany Holloway Wilkerson, was located down the road at a neighbour's home, suffering from a gunshot wound to her right thigh. Police identified 22-year-old Cortelis James as a suspect in the shooting, and she was taken into custody. Major crimes detectives responded to the scene and began interviewing witnesses. 2 witnesses stated they left with Cortelis to go to a local restaurant. When they returned to 9251 Ponderosa Drive South, all of Cortelis' belongings were in the yard. Her vehicle was keyed and all 4 tyres were flat. Witnesses said that Honesty and Germany came to that location and began arguing with Cortelis. During the altercation, Cortelis fired a shotgun at Honesty, hitting her in the chest, and then chased Germany as she fled the scene, shooting her in the thigh. Witnesses also stated that Honesty and Cortelis had been fighting back and forth over social media, but they were unaware of what the argument was about. Cortelis was taken to the Metro jail and charged with murder of Honesty and attempted murder of her sister Germany. Cortelis has a criminal history and has previously been arrested for domestic violence, criminal mischief and possession of marijuana. The investigation into the matter continues. On Monday the 14th of August 2023, 44-year-old Troy Matthew Maskell was found guilty of manslaughter in the fatal beating of 73-year-old John Burke. At just before 1 a.m. on the 8th of August 2021, John was at the Strathmerton Shell service station in Victoria, Australia, talking to the shop attendant when Troy's girlfriend and their 10-year-old daughter walked in. John greeted the woman and the child, asking how they were, with the young girl responding really good. The woman took offence to John looking at the girl and accused him of being a pedo and told her partner Troy who entered the store. Troy then picked up a red 1-litre bottle of sports drink from the counter and threw it at John who was in the foyer. The bottle struck him on the side of the head, sending him into a daze. Troy then rushed at John and kicked him in the hip, sending him flying and landing hard on the tiled floor. Troy then kicked the bottle, which hit John in the groin area, before stomping on his glasses and berating him. After the family left, the attendant checked on John who was conscious but in pain, and the authorities were contacted. When officers arrived, they found John was alert and conversational, but complained about pain to his hip and blood was pooling from his left ear. He was rushed by ambulance to the Goulburn Valley Health in Shepparton, where doctors found he had suffered bleeding on the left side of his brain and had a fractured pelvis. Later that morning, he was transferred to a Melbourne hospital where his condition deteriorated. Troy was captured on CCTV, and authorities identified and arrested him later that day. He told police that the night's events were very blurry because he had drunk a lot. Days later, John had blood clots on his lungs as well as a second brain bleed, leading to brain damage. John did not recover, and he went into palliative care 2 months later and died. After being found guilty of manslaughter, Troy has a pre-sentencing hearing scheduled in November. A 38-year-old man is behind bars after shooting and pistol whipping his friend during an argument. At around 4 a.m. on Friday the 11th of August, authorities responded to DeSoto Avenue in De Leon Springs, Florida on reports of shots fired. As deputies arrived, the victim was already being driven to hospital. However, the suspect Thomas Arney remained on scene. He told deputies that he and his friend had been drinking outside all night, then got into an argument that escalated. Thomas said his friend started breaking windows of vehicles and moved towards him aggressively before he fired 2 shots at his legs. The victim didn't cooperate with investigators, but a witness told deputies that the victim was not threatening Thomas in any way before the shooting. That witness said that Thomas shot the victim once in each leg and then stood over him and pistol whipped him in the head. Thomas was arrested and charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and is held at the Volusia County Branch Jail with bond set at $25,000. The investigation into the matter continues.